that I'll be showing you here today, you can always go into the recording and pause and play and just review all the steps that I'm going to be showing you here today. All right, so since I'll have you go to a Padlet, let's start with the Padlet tips for collaborating. All right, so if you are not familiar with Padlet, Padlet is a collaborative board that allows us to share ideas via text, links, videos, memes. It's so versatile that it's why it's so powerful. It's very flexible how you can use it, and it supports all sorts of media so that you can really add any type of resources that you like, including files or anything really that you like to add to it. The first tip that I have here is that there are new layouts. If you haven't been in a Padlet lately, there are new layouts with sections to keep posts organized. So before, we only had the ability to organize our Padlets in sections using some sort of a wall type of layout where you have a column specifically for a topic or for a team. So that's how you could kind of like organize your thoughts or your resources. Now, if you go into the layouts menu in Padlet, you have the ability of adding sections to all the different formats in our menu here. So you have here the timeline with sections, the grid with sections, the stream with sections, wall with sections, and the map with sections. So that really opens up the options of how you can organize your Padlets. Let me go ahead and show you in a Padlet here. So I'm going to take this example, the one that we were in just a moment ago. And the great thing about Padlet is that it allows you to organize it in different ways after the fact. So if you initially pick a specific layout, let's say here today, I picked this layout and I say, after all the ideas that I got, maybe I should have added a section for how do you currently collaborate? And then the other section of what tools do you use? So I have those two items in a way separated in my Padlet. So what I can do is I can go to this gear icon, and regardless of the layout that I selected, I will see here this option where I can group my post by sections. So I can click on this toggle button, and now I can add sections to my Padlet, and I can move the current post into different sections if I need to reorganize them. So that's really nice. And I can turn this off or on at any point. And I can also go and change the layout of my Padlet. So this is a wall type of Padlet. I can go into these three little dots and change the format. And I have all the different layouts. So I can go into the stream. So it's a little bit of a wider column here where I can scroll down and see all the different posts. But you can see here that the sections are still here for me to add them. I can also, let's say the canvas is a really cool one because as you saw, they're going to overlap here. It allows me to move them freely in my wall, and these dots will allow me to also connect different posts with each other. So I can kind of do a little brainstorming and add some arrows, or we're going to first do this and then this, or this idea goes well with this one. So you can really freely move all these to a different part of the wall, and it will follow that arrow. So you can be, it's very flexible as far as like what layout you want, if you want to add or not sections and whatnot. So that's a new feature that was added recently to the layouts here. And again, stop me if you want me to, if you have any questions or would like me to repeat anything here. So then the next one is more of a collaborative feature with your students as well. You can use your own graphic organizers as a background in a Padlet, so you can bring different activities to work with your PLCs or your students. The best type of layout that works with these type of graphic organizers is going to be the Canvas, because it's the one that allows you to freely move those posts into different sections of your wall. And the other ones are more fixed, where Padlet chooses where it goes, or it has the columns already kind of structured. So if you're going to go with a background that you create, select the canvas so you can then, or your students can then move them around in the Padlet wall, as well as your peers. If your colleagues, you're using anything like this, they can go ahead and move them freely into the section that they want to put these on. So to add a custom wallpaper to your Padlet, I'm just going to go in and create a new Padlet from scratch here. I'm going to go and create a Padlet. I'm going to do the canvas because I'm going to do the custom background. And here in the menu on the right-hand side, I can go to wallpaper, and Padlet has a bunch of different options here. You can pick solid colors. There's gradients. There are images. There are arts. And you can go to the custom, and you can see the different options here. So one is upload, one is take a picture with your camera, draw it. You can add a link of an image that you want to add, or you can search for something online and add it here. So this is something that you can search for. I didn't try this actually when preparing for this webinar, but I'm pretty sure that if I look for something online, there's going to be something already created. Maybe template or something like that would be, there we go. You can select this, and it's not really going to fit. So you can create your own to make it fit perfectly here. That was a test that I had not tried, and I just risked that here with you all. So I'm going to go with upload, because the idea is that you have your own that meets your needs, your activity, your lesson plan. And I'm going to go into my downloads here where I have all the ones that I've played with today, and I can pick the one that I need. I can go ahead and click open. And now I'm going to hit save, and I can add here the title of my Padlet. Shoot, let me click on this. And I can change here. I guess it's over here. Compare and contrast. I can put the instructions in the description area, and I have a nice background where my students can create their posts and add them into the different areas. So this is really neat. If you want to have your own backgrounds, you can do that and upload them to your Padlets. And in our PowerPoint here for today, I have a template because it can become tricky to make sure that the area where you have the graphic organizer fits exactly in the background of your Padlet, right? That I found out as I was trying this out today. So I'm going to share this PowerPoint. This has a template. If you haven't tried Canva, well, let me go ahead and fix that for you before I send it out. But I use Canva a lot for any type of graphic that I like to create, a flyer, a handout, and I have a bunch of, things here that it don't become anything official. So I like to play around with a bunch of stuff. And this is essentially what I shared with you. This may not be that big of a deal, but this is the size that will fit exactly that Padlet that I showed you. Anything that you fit inside of this square will be shown in that Padlet. So you can go ahead and here do, let's say, flow chart, anything like that. And I can go ahead and grab this part, add it here. And I know for sure that if I save this, I download this as a PNG. Of course, I need to mess with the colors, the format, all that, so it looks nice and ready for my palette. You can now then download it, and that will be great for the Padlet wallpaper that you need to upload. So just wanted to share this template with you, this link. I'll fix that in the PowerPoint before I send it out. I'll make sure that it's there. And in Canva, if you go into your homepage here and just type graphic organizer, you will find tons of templates that are, super cute, ready to go, that you can just copy and paste into that template and know for sure that it's going to fit. So you can get inspired or grab something from here that's already created. We want to work in a way that if there's something already created, we can just grab it and put it in where we need it. So why recreate the wheel? So Canva is a great resource if you ever need to grab any graphic organizers there. All right. The next one is about sharing your Padlet. So when you share a Padlet, you want to make sure that you set the permissions correctly, so there's no going back and forth with your students or with your peers about not being able to post anything, or if you want the post to have the author listed, that you are setting your Padlet the right way so it does that. So a couple of things that you need to think about. Do you want to know who posts in your Padlet? Or do you want your students or your colleagues to remain anonymous when posting? And then what type of permissions you like your visitors to have? Do you want them to just be able to read? Sometimes you just want to share resources with your peers, or you want to just share them resources with your students, but not necessarily have them contribute to your Padlet. Do you want them to write? Or do you want to give them admin permissions? This would be more for your peers, where the admin permissions will allow them to delete posts, to edit any posts from other visitors. So they would have the same privileges as the creator of the Padlet. And all of that can be done directly here. So you can go ahead and click on this sharing permissions or share this Padlet. And then we want to change the privacy. So now here, there's a nice toggle button that was added because that was an issue in the past where students could go into the Padlet, they can post, and you would never know who posted if you didn't change the correct privacy settings. So now there's right here up in close, logged in visitors only. So you turn this on, and then anyone who accesses your Padlet will be prompted to sign in. And then here is where you specify if you want them to read, to write, or to edit here the actual post. So the editing is going to be editing the actual Padlet or giving them admin permissions. So make sure that you read the description for each type of permission to understand them and know what you're going to give them permissions for. So let's say I share this, gonna keep working, right? All right. Let's discard and close. Now I share this Padlet. I can use a link, which is the most popular one. You can get a QR code and share that way as well. So once it's out there and folks are posting in your Padlet, you want to make sure that the author and timestamp is on if you want to see who posted what. So let me see if I have that over on this one that I shared with you. This one is it. I can come in here and turn on author and timestamp, and now I can see at the top of each post who posted what. So in this one, I didn't have them required to sign in before joining, so that's why I see a few of anonymous in this Padlet. So that's another great thing to kind of keep in mind when using Padlet when collaborating or using it for working with your students. Now, another idea in Padlet and to be more efficient is to have one Padlet to rule them all. Like, I don't know if this happens to you, but one of my main struggles is that there are so many links shared out there that sometimes I can't remember where to find them. My boss sends them to me via email or Teams, or they're in the Google Doc, and I can't just remember where each one of them live. So it's kind of hard for me to access these resources without spending some time actually digging through everything and finding that. So if you're going to be using Padlets constantly with your peers, with your students, I recommend using just one main Padlet that you don't give editing permissions or writing permissions. It's just going to be viewing permissions. And that's going to be your hub where all the rest of your Padlets will live. So that means that you're just going to share one link to that main Padlet and then have every single Padlet there for them to go and access whenever they need to. So that's really cool. That Padlet has the ability to actually be able to add a Padlet to a Padlet. So let me show you an example of what that would look like. So I have here one Padlet to rule them all. And then I have, for instance, this Padlet has the PowerPoint for the Padlet. Then I have a Padlet about brainstorming. Then I have another example of a Padlet. So these are all Padlets that if I click on, will take me to that one Padlet. So just, to share, to be a little bit better about organizing your resources in one spot without having them be all separated and have that struggle. If you're going to use a lot of Padlets to brainstorm, to lesson plan, to, add resources or to conduct any meetings, you might as well have just one, and you can have them, and then you can have sections for each one of the categories of your Padlets, right? Maybe PowerPoints, and then you can have brainstorming, meetings or things like that, so that you have everything in just one space. So that's another way where Padlet comes in very handy. All right. Do we have any questions before I move on to Schoology? I will take that as a no.
Yes, I have a question.
Guys. Yes.
So this one Padlet, can you just repeat how you get it?
Yeah, of course.
That one that you said is like a hub for.
Absolutely. So the idea of having one Padlet for all your Padlets would be you have to create that Padlet. And let's say I'm going to do, doesn't matter which layout, I'm just going to pick a layout. And what I'm going to do when sharing this Padlet is I'm going to give them just viewing permissions or reading permissions. So that's just a library where they can go and access the Padlets, but not necessarily post anything. Or it's up to you if you want to give permissions so people can add Padlets, right? If you divvy up the work in that way. Is there a save? There we go. Save.
And if you want them, I'm sorry, you want them to write also, you just click on the right portion, isn't it?
Yes, correct. Okay. So you got your reading or your writing. And then to add a Padlet, I would go into my post, just like I would, add any other type of item, file, video, image. And then if I go to the three dots, I see all the different items that I can add to my Padlet. And one of the items here at the top left is an actual Padlet. So I would have, for instance, a Padlet for brainstorming for my meetings or lesson plans or training Padlet or anything that I created beforehand, right? And I would then go in here and select Padlet, and I will have all my Padlets that I've created. And I can go ahead and say, oh, I'm going to add this Padlet to my Padlet. I know it's a little bit confusing in a way, but it's going to just load. And then I can title this Padlet brainstorming Padlet. I can have dates if I wanted to, if that was helpful for me to find them or know what they were all about. You can do, sections by month to kind of organize your content as well, to have all the stuff that you worked on during the year. And then this will be the link to the Padlet. So I can click on it and it'll take me to that Padlet. So the only link that I would share with my peers, and even with my students, if it makes it easier for them to access everything, is the one for this one where everything will live. That makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okie doke. So let's go on and talk about how we can collaborate better in Schoology, using Schoology resources in groups. And I know this is probably a topic that we've, talked about more often, and you probably already know a lot about this, but hopefully there's a thing or two that I share here with you that is new. So Schoology groups are a great way to connect with people locally and worldwide. This is something that you can create in Schoology. Any teacher has the ability of creating groups. You can add other peers to your groups. You can join very easily by adding a join code in Schoology, and you can form your group with your peers. The great thing about groups is that you can share resources, collaborate. There's a lot of cool features that I'll talk about that in a minute. But to create a group, just go to courses. I'll wait for this to loop around in a minute. You go to courses. That's the only tricky thing about these when I have them. But here, hopefully it goes again. Groups. I go to my groups, and then I'll see a button to create a group. So one member of your team will be in charge of doing this. I name my group, a description if I want to. I set the privacy. And then the access, if you want it to invite only, allow requests, it's up to you. Then create, and you got your group. So one person in your PLC should be in charge of doing this. Then you're going to go to groups, go to my groups, and then you're going to click on the join group button. So the rest of the peers will do this. You can then paste the access code, and then boom, you're part of the group, and you should see it now here in your group's drop-down menu. Let me just show you really quickly that any member in the group to find that code, I'm going to go to the group, and whoever creates that will see it here, just like your course code. It's the same thing with groups. Now, there are a few things that we can take advantage of in groups to collaborate with your peers. One thing is the ability to share resources with members. And I really urge you to create a Schoology group and create materials inside of Schoology groups so that you share already those materials that you will be using from Schoology in Schoology. So there is no way that you can create Schoology assignments outside of Schoology, right? Or discussions or anything that you typically have in Schoology. So great way to divvy up the work with your colleagues. If you're going to work by unit or by lesson, hey, why don't you create the Schoology assignments for unit 1 and 2, or I'll do a question bank for our assessments. Work on a question bank together so you can all grab the questions from there to have an assessment in common with all students in that same grade level or that same subject, etc. So you have that space in common to create and share and be ready to go and not have to do all the work by yourself. So here I'm going to show you how you can share resources with your own members of the group. So if you come in here, once you create your group, the group admin has to make sure that all members are able to create materials for that group. By default, just the admins can add materials to the group resources. So it's important that everyone can contribute to that, right? So this is one thing that will have to happen in the group options. So if you're going to go to group options, go to edit privacy, group settings, and then you're going to scroll down to the other settings and make sure that all members of the group can create resources. So just click here, hit save, and now everyone can do it. Okay. So now you can create items inside of Schoology into the resources so that everyone can grab from them and add to their own courses. Even from your Google Drive, anything that you have over there, you can add from the apps. Excuse me. Now, another thing that is very underused is the learning objectives in Schoology. I believe that we all are working towards the same goal, which is having students achieve mastery in the different standards, right? So if you turn on learning objectives and you align those materials in Schoology with those learning objectives, you can go ahead and look at the mastery report in Schoology and see exactly where your students are at in those learning objectives. It may be Common Core, state standards, or you can even create your own custom learning objectives, because sometimes those state standards or Common Core doesn't meet the specific needs. Maybe you need to modify one because you have an IEP student, or you want to set specific learning objectives with your PLC for that month or for that unit. You can go ahead and enable those learning objectives and create them and align all those materials that you create so you're all comparing the same data when you meet together. So I'll show you in a minute how we can do this. And you can also build rubrics and question banks together. So again, if you are scoring your assignments, your assessments differently than when you look at the data, how you can really know if they're, meeting the standards, if they're on the same page, one grade level, or I guess one teacher to another. That's something that you can create here, having build those rubrics so you can have that common scoring as well. So I'm just going to go to Schoology really quick to show you how we can turn on those learning objectives. And let me go into this PD group. That's a test group here for me. So here I'm going to go into my resources. And in the options, right now I have it turned on, but then you will see here enable learning objectives, and you will see this learning objectives folder created in your resources. So I can go ahead and click here and add any objectives from Common Core, state standard, or you can create your own. Maybe it's something like this. Student is able to submit a Schoology assignment. You're working on that. You can actually track if a student is able just by looking at your mastery report. And another advantage of creating this is because when you are creating materials and aligning to your learning objectives, it takes a few clicks to get to them. I can go in here and add the ones that I'm going to be using, for instance, state standards, Common Core, and others. I can go in here and look through. I can go to ELA, I can go to the grade, I can go to the speaking and listening. So it takes a few clicks to get here. So once I pick them and add them to my learning objectives, when I go to create materials, let me just show you here a quick example. I go to create this assignment. I go in and align this one, and I go into my custom learning objectives, go to the group, go to the PD group. I'm going to see it here because I already pre-selected it from the resources area. So it's quicker, it's easier, and it's focused to what I need instead of digging through all the different standards that are built into Schoology. And you can create folders to keep them better organized. You can then have your group pick from these when they create their assignments, and they're going to be here available for every member in the group to use. So that's really powerful if you really want to track that mastery inside of Schoology. And it's something that students will be able to see. Melody, yeah, they will be able to see when they go into the assignment, which standard is aligned. And I believe they also have access to the mastery report on the left-hand side, and it's just going to be them showing their progress, not every single member of their class. Let me just show you a slide of what that report looks like, because I don't have anything aligned in mine. So it's tricky to show you, but I have some screenshots here. You will see across the top all the standards or learning objectives that you've used. And you can see here, you know, bird's eye view of how they're doing, really nice color coded. You can see for each standard, how many students have exceeded expectation, met standard, does not met. You can also see student averages across the top for each one of your standards, so that you can go with your colleagues and say, hey, how are your students doing on so-and-so standard, or on their reading, or on their writing? And then you can see, oh, we need to reteach this, or this is something that we need to work on because they're all kind of falling behind on this. If you mouse over a specific rectangle here, you will see specifically which assignments, which assessments are aligned to this standard. And the little star indicates that mastery has been achieved. And what is mastery? You define it in Schoology. If you go to this gear icon, you can set what is mastery, what is, you know, does not meet. So it's custom to what you set in Schoology. It's not set in stone. Whatever they have, you can customize it. Let's say if you select grade level ELA folder by grade level, does that folder pop up when you're selecting standards on a created assessment? Once you create the standard, when you dig down the grade level, it will not tell you. Just like I saw here while doing this one, if I go to learning objectives, I mean, I'm not very familiar with the standards to know, okay, is this one grade 1? For me to easily tell that, you know, but you can add folders, and you can go ahead and say grade 1 ELA, and then organize your standards in that way so you can, you know which one is which. Is this in groups only or in courses as well? So you set this up in your groups, and then when you go into your course and you want to align to those standards that you pick or your learning objectives that you created. So let's say I want to do the same with something I create outside of the group. If I go to align, I go to custom learning objectives and see that they are here as a group. I just pick the group where I created them, and they're going to be here for me to use. So it's beneficial to create as a group, because you're going to have that available for your own personal use as well. So you don't have to, do double work on that. It's going to be there, nicely organized, by group, personal, and public. I think it was the other one. So it really is a little bit of time that you invest, but I think it pays off if you're going to start aligning your materials in Schoology. Now, when you are creating resources for your group, I just want to kind of point out that it's going to look slightly different because you're going to be creating templates for your peers to use. This is an example of one. You're going to do an assignment template, right? So you can, do the basic information that you typically do, the name, the description. You can add files, links, all that good stuff, directions with, your microphone, anything like that, your grading. You can attach rubrics aligned to your objectives, and that's it. When you copy something from your group resources onto your course, that's where the teacher gets to set the rest of the parameters here for the due date, the category, the period, because each teacher may have different due dates, different categories. So that's something that they will be able to customize when they pass it on to the course. So just important to note that if you're working inside of a group, you'll be working with templates. And then once you copy it over, you can add all that good stuff, including any integrations. So the templates in Schoology don't support at the moment, like Google assignments, OneDrive assignments, or Kami assignments. That's something that you will have to do once you pass it on to your course. Like you see here, you will see the different integrations. Right here, I just see Kami, but you'll see Google, you'll see OneDrive, and that you have to set up after you've done this. All right, another cool thing that you have in groups is the ability to have discussions asynchronously, brainstorming or scrumming in that way, by providing updates here. Hey, how are we doing with a unit 4, assignments or question bank? You can go ahead and type in here anything you like. And it's really neat that you can go in here and check what's happening in your group. And that would replace any communication like via email or Teams or anything like that. If you're working in that same group, you can as well have all your communication done in that group. You can also poll your group inside of your updates by clicking on this little icon here, this little chart that will pop up your poll. You can add your question, the options, and then folks can start voting here inside of your Schoology group updates. Sorry, time in front and once in place. Yeah, will be a great tool. I agree, Melody. Then you have discussions for more, organized type of topics that you want to keep separated instead of just one long feed, kind of like Facebook. That would be your updates. This is like, okay, we want to talk about this topic, type it in here. And then if you want to access a different topic, you can create a separate discussion. So this is another great way to have those conversations with your peers. You can add files, you can add all sorts of things inside of a discussion post to share or to just have those conversations in here. Another thing to note in Schoology groups is that you can customize your notifications. I may not want to get an email for every single post someone has in my discussion. I may want to go and check that out once a day or once a week. You can go ahead and turn those on or off depending on what you like. So you go into the notifications and then you can check these depending on what you want and save changes, and then you will get those via email. Yeah, Deanna, that's fine. Thanks for letting me know. Then another area in Schoology is the resources in general. There is a way that you can share materials or even entire folders with individual teachers instead of having to create a group and share via groups. You can have those materials live in your personal resources area and then share them with those folks that need them. Just kind of like Google, right? So the main thing that you need to remember is that those materials that you like to share need to live in a new collection. A collection in Schoology is like a banker box or a folder where you store your materials. So when you go into resources, by default, you will have home. That's there ready for you to go and start adding items there. If you want to share items, you need to create a new collection, a new banker box. And any item in here is the ones that you can share. Excuse me. Nothing in home will be able to, you will be able to share. Let me show you here. I'm going to math. Let's say I have this amazing math assessment. I'm going to click on it. And then I have this options button. Well, never mind. I got that sharing. Let me see what it looks like when I haven't shared. Okay. Okay, so I have this amazing document and I want to share it with someone. I have this share button. I'm going to click on it. And from here, I can search for any teacher that is in my school or any, some teachers are associated to multiple schools in Schoology. So anyone in that network will be available to be searched in this. So let's say I want to search for Deanna. Maybe that's not someone who I have. Anyway, let's say Alexandra. I hope I can find her. There we go. I'm going to click on her, add her. And like with Google, I can go ahead and give her viewing permissions or editing permissions to that document. So that's how simple it is for you to share a material with your peers. And you can do this with individual files or folders to help you with that. All right. That's exactly what I went through just now, these steps here. Any questions before I move on to quizzes? All right. Let's see if my voice lasts until the end. All right, so quizzes. Quizzes has added a few features to collaborate and share quizzes with your colleagues, which is amazing. Quizzes is a tool for you to check for understanding using gamification. So if you've never used it, you are missing out. This is a great way to get your students engaged and excited about taking a test. So that's pretty cool. So if you have a new teacher, you know, in your school or someone who's just, you know, getting their feet wet when it comes to tech and you want to kind of share what you got so far as quizzes, there is a way for you to do that. So you can create now a team on quizzes so that you have a space in common with your peers to share, store, and access those quizzes, lessons, and quizzes. So there are two formats in quizzes now. So you can do like a hybrid, like PowerPoint, and then have questions in between your slides. So that's really great when you want to like do a lesson and do some pulse checks on the way. You can create unlimited numbers of teams and add as many teachers as you like from your school or district. So that is amazing that there's no limit as far as that goes. Let me just show you here how we can do that in quizzes. So if you go to the MCS app portal, you will be able to find quizzes here. I will go into the search bar and find it quickly here. So now on the left, let's see if I do where was that? Jesus. Here, my teams, my library. You're going to see a section here called My Teams, and this is where you can create those. So I'm going to add the team name, and then I'm going to go next. And then I can invite team members using a link, so I can just copy that, or you can add it by email. And here I have some teachers that are from my district. I can start searching for some email for some folks here. So just like in Outlook, as you start typing, you see them pop up, which is super nice. So I'm just going to add that member here. I'm going to hit done. And now here in your teams, you will be able to start adding content, and everyone who's part of the team will be able to see the content, use that content, and contribute to this team's content. So that's really powerful, time saver, and whatnot. But let's say you already have some quizzes or quizzes lessons that you'd like to add to your team. You're just going to go to that quizzes activity, hit share, and you can directly send this one to a team. So I can go ahead and select this, hit add, and now my team has this amazing Thanksgiving trivia that they were all dying to have. So super easy, straightforward for you to just build a team and build quizzes activities with that team. So you can divvy up the work and share everything that you've had so far. Another great thing is that you can also share just with individual teachers. You can share an individual quiz or lesson, an entire collection, which is the equivalent to a folder in quizzes, or you can even share reports. So if you're looking at data, you can share reports of the same quizzes activities that you've launched. And you can say, hey, my students did amazing this time around because I gave them the opportunity to do this at the end of the lesson. So you can do like bookends. You can do it in the beginning to see what they know about it, and then at the end to kind of see their improvement after you share a lesson. So you can compare in that way with your peers, and also you can download a report and share the URL with them. So how do we do this? I'm gonna go, and I probably, you already probably saw this. If I went to the share button, I see that there's an option to share with a teacher. So I'm just gonna click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and search for that person here. Just gonna send it to my colleague Brandon, and same, is he going to be able to view or edit? You can go ahead and allow that there and share invite, and then they'll get that email. And it'll even give you a suggestion, hey, you can create a team with Brandon Chisholm and you don't have to do this over and over again. So they're going to be reminding you about that feature often. And then here, like with Google, you can edit, give them editing permissions or remove them from those privileges. So really nice and easy. Also, if you're in this view, you will see that button here that you can send it to a team or to that individual teachers or group of teachers. I see here the icons of those that have access to my quiz. So super easy and useful. Now, another thing that we have is that we have a, let's call it public library within our district of resources in quizzes. So I don't know if you notice, but when I go into my library, I see this shared with me, and there's a huge, like a big number. And I remember getting emails of these folks saying, hey, you know, Rafael Trinado shared this quadratic formula quiz with you. So how do these get here and into my library? So very, very easy. So if you want to share your resources with folks in our district without having to add them to a team or to having to share that resource with them, when you go into the sharing with a teacher, you will see everyone in Modesto City Schools, and the default is Can't View. Just change this to Can't View, and then that quiz will now live in that shared with me. So this is how you can just, you know, share the love with your peers in our district, and then anyone can look for them going into that shared with me and see some amazing work that you've done. And, you can get some from others as well going into this shared with me. So it's a great space for us in our district to share quizzes activities. All right, and last but not least, quick, big, important question: to meme or not to meme? So if you are familiar with quizzes, you know that in your quizzes activities, you can incorporate some fun power-ups and have students retake questions that they get wrong, so they get like all excited and things like that. And after each question, they can see a meme if they got it right or wrong, right? So there are some built in meme sets, or you can create your own. And in quizzes, you can share those meme sets. So if you have invested or put in the time to create those meme sets and you want to share some of the fun with your peers, you can go ahead and share those memes with that group. So I know it's a little bit, you may think, why do I not put in the time to create memes? I mean, it's fun, why not? You can divvy up the work and each colleague can put in a correct and an incorrect meme, and then you got a set going. And the great thing is that when you add a meme, remember I talked about Canva? Quizzes have partnered with Canva to create personalized memes. So if I go to Canva and I type in here at the top quizzes, you will see a bunch of memes ready to go, and you can add your name, or there are some that you can add your face to that meme to make it a little bit more personal and fun for your students to see, oh, Miss Gama said, or Miss Gama had this kitty, or something like that, that they'll like kind of like connect or bond with you in that fun way. So I think it's cute, it's funny, and why not? So when you create your meme set, you can go ahead and click share, and you can share with folks. You can copy this link and share it with your peers, and then they will have that meme set ready to go for them whenever they launch a quizzes activity with their students. All right, running out of time, I guess have time to share this last little piece about Parent Square. I mean, we've probably all used Parent Square at this point. And if you ever need to add a manager or a collaborator to a post, there is a way to add that someone who will have the same permissions as you do. So they will be able to edit your post. They will be able to see any comments and reply to those comments. If you added a form or ask for volunteers or ask for items using those post add-ons, that additional collaborator will be able to see all the responses, manage all the responses, do the same things as you do. So great for some that you're working together. You can simply add that. I guess it's the name, manage admins. You can add that admin to your post. So super easy. This is something that you need to do after you post. You can create the post and then just find it and click on the gear icon. You go to manage admins, then you'll see a pop-up and you can type the name of that user that you want to add as an admin, and then you can click submit, and that's it. You will see that person's name here next to yours, so you know who are the admins of that post. So super helpful if you need to add your principal or anyone from the school's office to help you manage, maybe this is something school-wide and you need to be involved. They can add you, things like that. You can then show them, hi, you can add me as an admin in your post. So that is just my quick tip in Parent Square of how you can collaborate with others in your post. All right, guys. I think we are down to the last minute. I want to thank you so much for hanging out here with me, learning about different ways you can collaborate in the EdTech tools that we very often use. I'm going to just quickly share that survey link here with you. Remember, if you have any questions about what we reviewed here today, you want to talk a little bit more about mastery or quizzes or Padlet, you can drop me a line, you can email me, Teams chat me, any way you like. We can set up a meeting, we can go to your site and help you out. Anything you like, we can make it happen. So thank you so much again. And once you finish that survey, you are good to go. If you don't have any questions, of course. If you do, just stick around. I'll be here to answer any of them. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Excuse me, what is the one that we need to fill up?
Yeah, I'm going to post that one more time.
Okay.
It should be in that chat.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Gloria, so that box I actually made. Let me go ahead and I'll share the PowerPoint in that slide that I have the template link. I'll share with you. For some reason, this one's not wanting to work. But where is it? This one here. I'll share a view link. This is a watch link. I'll make sure I send you the correct link. Here it is, view only link. This is something you can use. I'll share it in the PowerPoint when I send it out, but there it is. And this is not supposed to be there. But the way this works, you essentially put your graphic organizer within that border, and you can zoom in here and make sure you adjust it accordingly here. But essentially, this is the size you need. Yes. Okay, Amneris, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. And my transcripts didn't show my my name in it. So but I enroll. I sign up for this. So for this training. So are you gonna send names? So it's consistent.
So when you register for a course in the PD catalog, it won't show up in your transcript. Once I mark your attendance, it will show up in your transcript.
Okay. Thank you.
Angela, really quick on the Schoology groups and creating learning objectives.
Mhm.
When you go in to create the learning objectives and it gives you, when I went in to do it, it only gave me like one folder and it said learning objectives like that. But
Mhm.
embedded within that folder, can I add a folder that says, yeah, like that? So
Yes.
like biology or 7th grade standards, 8th grade standards.
Yes, you can. You can go here to add, and then you have the option here for a folder.
Okay, and then within that folder, can I then embed like other folders where I would be able to go like unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, that type of thing? So
Yeah, I believe
perfect.
you can do subfolders and subfolders
Okay.
inside of subfolders, how many levels you want there.
Okay. I didn't dive into it that deep, and I was just like, okay, because I think I could use that to share with teachers that use Schoology, but maybe they haven't created the learning objectives to tie to their assignments. So if it's there, they can use it and share it into their courses, correct? So if I create it in the group that we're shared, then they can share that, they can access it into their courses.
Correct.
Okay.
And you can add to your folders state standard, Common Core, and well, they're pre-built, or you can create your own if you're modifying, if you have specific that are not tied to state standards, Common Core.
Gotcha.
You can create them here and they will be available as well for them. But you
Perfect.
have to have a description.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of
Goodness.
course.
Do you want us to finish the survey and then leave, or are we good to just go ahead and leave and go and then finish it?
Yeah, you can leave the call and then do the survey now or later. It's fine.
I'll do it now because if I wait until later, I'll go, I know there was something I was supposed to do.
Right,
So,
yeah.
all right. Thank you. Very informative. Some things to definitely think about. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
Have a
for
good
that.
day.
All right, you too.